It's not just Democrats losing at the polls. Big labor also losing big time as candidates taking on public unions win. And candidates running to cut big government and our mounting debt win. But will all of this mean taxpayers are the real victors? Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears. And here they are, the Bulls and Bears this week. Gary B. Smith, Tracy Burns, Jonas Max Ferris, John Layfield, along with Chuck Rocha. Welcome to everybody. Okay, John, Tuesday's election results, not about red or blue, but really taxpayers green?
Yeah, it is. Like, people don't like what they have, and they won't change. And I'm not sure. Like, we threw a bunch of unqualified guys out of Congress, and we elected a bunch of unqualified guys to replace them. They just happen to be Republicans. So I'm not sure there's the reason for a big party here. But what voters are going against is the system. Look, they don't like big government. They don't like unions not offering them choices in schools. Hillary Clinton, one of the old political names, she lost in nearly every race that she helped. President Obama, people, his own party, were running from him. The old guard is in trouble. People won't change. I'm not sure we got it, but that's what was voted for.
But Gary B., they were also really voting for candidates who were anti-big spending and anti-union. What kind of message does that send to us?
Well, I think there's two messages, Brenda. People care about their money, whether it's their own money or the money they get confiscated by Washington, and they also care about the inefficiencies of unions. You know, it's funny, Brenda. In the history of the United States, the government, Justice Department, always comes down very heavily against unions, saying they're not efficient or they're gouging us on price. You know, companies like AT&T, like IBM, when I was there, they were coming at Microsoft here and in foreign countries. And yet when you have things like the teachers' unions, government, which is, heavily unionized, for some reason, the government stands back and says that's okay, and yet you get the same thing you did with, Ma Bell, if you will. You get higher prices, you get inefficiency, and I think that's what the voters are looking for. They're looking to say, hey, how can we spend our money better? And it's certainly not in something like the teachers' union where we're getting higher prices, if you will, and less output.
But Chuck, the union spent millions of dollars to defeat candidates such as Scott Walker of Wisconsin. They didn't win, so what does that mean?
All right. I told y'all before I came on that we weren't going to talk about the elections if I came on here.
We lied, Chuck. We lied.
What happened? Now, I agree with John. People are very frustrated, and the union spent a lot of money. But I'd remind folks that 2 years ago I was here and we was talking about is Wall Street dead? Is the chamber dead? Big labor is back. Elections are cyclical, and what John said is right. They're fed up. They keep throwing people out, trying the other ones. We're a bunch of mice, and we keep electing cats. We went from black cats to white cats, and now we're electing black and white cats. The problem is we're electing cats.
Right.
Tracy, what do you say to that?
That's the problem. Although I think there's something telling here about the unions. I mean, they did spend, the National Education Association, $40 million. It was most telling at the gubernatorial level, too. They tried to get the governors out there, and they couldn't. Republican governors won. I think this is saying something, though, about the whole collective bargaining process. I think people are being sick and tired of paid based on seniority as opposed to merit. And I think we're going to start to see that more and more between the teachers and other unions out there. Unions are losing their membership. We saw it, actually, I think, in this election.
Jonas, what do you think this means to taxpayers?
First of all, I think Chuck copied that all right thing from somebody else. I'm not going to name any names. Nice try, Chuck, to slip that one in. I don't see the huge impact of taxpayers, maybe with teachers' unions, but with regular unions in the private sector, consumers benefit when unions take a hit like they just did. I just don't see how it leads to higher tax rates or lower tax. It's a consumer price thing. It's a corporate price thing. Shareholders benefit. I don't see it really affecting taxpayers. As far as most taxpayers, that's really not where the win was in this election. 98% of people are paying a very low rate compared to history in this country. Wow. There's about 2% that really are paying a lot more than they were a few years ago, but everybody else, they never got a huge tax increase.
Well, John, actually, it lowers the pension benefits, which is a huge part of state budgets, and doesn't that lower our taxes?
Yeah, it sure does. Look, the unions, people, like Chuck was talking about, people won't change. And what we're doing is not working. And doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is a definition of insanity. Our education system continues to go down the OECD country list and further each and every year. We don't have choice. We don't have a voucher program. We don't have choice in education. And people are very unhappy about that. And because of the pensions and the benefits, that, by the way, is not the union's fault. These are promised to these unions by politicians who know we can't pay these unions. So the guy who goes to work every day with his lunch pail and all of a sudden his union, his pension gets cut, it's not his fault. It's a politician that should have never promised it.
You know, Gary B., we talk a lot about big spending and being anti-big spending, but the administration is asking for $3.7 billion to fight ISIS. Shouldn't that be where the money is spent, to protect us from the bad guys?
Well, a couple points. One, let's give a shout out to Chuck on the best Denzel Washington imitation ever. That's what I think Jonas was talking about. Should we? Yes. Listen, I think terrorism, we're going to talk later on the show about different kinds of terrorism, is where our money should be going. Now, that said, I think anytime we have a mom and apple pie area like defense, automatically everyone says we should spend as much money as possible. We have to be prudent there as well as things like government pensions, like education.
Okay, Chuck, Denzel.
I think that at the end of the day, people made a choice, and things are flipping back and forth. I think that if both parties stand up and honestly say what they believe in instead of just trying to go wherever the wind blows, let people make a choice. Let them choose the kind of government they want. If they want less spending, let them vote that way. And if they want more spending, have them vote that way. But we can't be running like back and forth all the time. The American people just want their money protected, and they want a government that looks and acts like them.
But that's what we're doing, Chuck. And you know what? I think this is the Republicans' game to lose right now. They have an opportunity to make a difference. Say that we did something at the end of the 2 years. Show something for yourself, because if not, we're just going to go back to the other side again, and we'll be chasing cats, just like you said.
Okay,
they're like the dog who caught the car.
Right.
Okay, it's Matthew. I just can't let it. It's Matthew McConaughey. Okay, it's not.
No, it's Denzel.
It is not.
It is. It is.
Okay, Jonas, what do you think about this?
I think you're right about local taxes with teachers, but that's more of a property tax thing. Again, I think it's consumers and consumer prices, the dollar menu. That's all going to be locked in if we don't raise the wages artificially for everybody. So I think that's where the winners were, so to say.
Okay, Gary B., last word?
Well, look, I think Chuck hit the nail on the head. If the candidates came out and said exactly what they were stood for and were going to do, then I think we have a fair election. I think we edged closer, though, this way, because a lot of candidates that ran on Obamacare got thrown out.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, guys.